Welcome to week one of the small group study for Wired for Greatness. I'm so glad that you're taking time out to watch this together as a group. And over the course of these 6 weeks, you're going to learn more about how God has designed you. You were wired for greatness. You were wired to take great care of yourself, to share great stories with others, to have great relationships, to be a great manager of resources and time, and to make a great contribution to the world through your unique gifts. When I say that you were wired for these things, I mean that the connections in your heart, mind, and soul that shape who you are at the core of your being were designed for greatness. When you discover these truths and explore them in depth, the question has to be asked, why would I ever settle for anything less? God knows us better than we know ourselves. We were designed with great care, like a work of art, and God, the master designer, wired us to do great work in this world to benefit others. As we do that great work, the goal in it should be to give God all of the praise and honor that God deserves. I love the words of David in Psalm 139 where he says, "O Lord, you have searched me and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord." David knows that God knows us well. God designed us or wired us for a purpose. Part of the journey of life is discovering that purpose and understanding how God wired us to fulfill that purpose. So you might be wondering why I'm sitting in a pizza kitchen. Well, first of all, I really like pizza. I also think that this pizza restaurant gives us a lot of great analogies of how God has designed us. Look at what else David says in Psalm 139. You hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. God made us with great care in the same way that every pizza here is made with great care. And just think about that for a moment. The God of the universe created you with great care and for a great purpose. Over these 6 weeks, we're going to talk about our responsibilities in light of God's creative work. And our belief is that God has given us our bodies, our time, our money, and our possessions, our gifts, and even our relationships and life stories for a purpose. We are wired to be great managers of all of those things. You could say that we were wired to be great stewards of all of those things. There's an old English word that we don't use as much anymore in our culture. It is the word steward. In medieval times, the steward was the person in the household responsible for managing the whole household. And this was an official position. This person was responsible for knowing all of the details of what was going on in the household. They were accountable to the Lord of the household, and those that did well in this role carried a great sense of urgency and responsibility about maximizing the functions of the household. In other words, the best stewards had a deep desire to do a great job, not because they were trying to get a great performance review, but because they cared about the household just as much as the Lord of the household. They recognized that none of the household belonged to them, but they still wanted to make it run well as stewards or managers of the estate. So the working definition of stewardship that we will use during this series is this. Stewardship is the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. Now, how well are you managing all that God has entrusted to your care? We can relate to this idea of stewardship here in the pizza restaurant. For this restaurant to operate at its best, it requires great managers. The owner of the restaurant entrusts the restaurant to the care of the managers to make sure that guests have a great experience. Employees are inspired. They want to make sure that the money gets handled well, and the greatest managers treat the restaurant as if it was their own, even though they know that it belongs to someone else. So during this series, we are going to talk about our stewardship or management responsibilities in many areas. But this week, I want to talk about stewardship of ourselves. How are we supposed to manage ourselves? If God has wired us for greatness, then what does that mean in terms of how we should treat ourselves?